Hi guys, welcome back to Sheddy's Kitchen. I'm Sheddy. Today we're looking at making a sweet noodle dish. It actually is the dessert that we normally have. That's quite common. It's a sweet vermicelli dish. It's known in Urdu as Seviyan and it's known in Punjabi, that's my home language, as Seviyan. So are you ready? Let's get cooking. So I'm going to split the ingredients for this into two parts. It just makes it easier for cooking. You'll have two separate saucepans at the time. So for the first saucepan, what you're going to need is 4 green cardamom seeds. These are known as, in our language, it's known as sabaz elachi. And you'll need 4 of these. And what you would need to do is you need to take the seeds out of the pod and grind them down. Because it just dissolves into the water that we're using later on when they're ground down a lot better and gives you a nice running flavour throughout. You'll need 600 ml of water, (100 grams of sugar), that's just granulated sugar, 2 pinches of salt, that's just standard cooking salt. And for the separate saucepan, what you're going to need is 150 grams of unsalted butter. Now, if you use salted butter, you don't actually need the salt originally in the recipe, but we use unsalted butter, that's why we add the salt to it directly. This one also is a vegetarian version, so it makes the dish vegetarian. So if you want to stick with making sure it is vegetarian, stick with vegetarian butter. So 150 grams of that. You'll need 250 grams of roasted vermicelli. Now, we've got them in 125 gram packs at the moment. And as you can see, the roasted vermicelli, they're very, very thin. You want these to be very thin. In Urdu, we call these Seviyan, and in Punjabi, we call these Seviyan. But roasted vermicelli is what will be written on the pack. It doesn't actually suggest it's roasted on here, but you can see that they're roasted. They're slightly browned over there. But they are vermicelli, and that's exactly what you're after. And finally, you'll just need some raisins. Doesn't matter about the mass in terms of what you need here. It's just purely for decoration at the end. We can pop that onto the top. So we're going to start off with the first part, which is relatively straightforward. So there's 4 ingredients going into this. As you can see from the saucepan, I've got quite a small one over here, doesn't matter which one you use. We've popped in the cardamom seed, and as you can see, we've crushed them down now. So they've been ground down and popped into there. To that, we're going to add the 600 ml of water. We'll add the sugar to that as well. And then just 2 pinches of salt before I turn the heat on. And I'm going to pop that onto a high heat so that allows that to boil away. I will give this mixture a mix in a moment, so let's just get the heat on to that. So I've got that on a high heat now, and give it a quick mix. go. Let the sugar dissolve in there, the salt dissolve in there, and that's it. I'm going to leave that on there. When that begins to boil, I will just take it off the heat completely and pop that out of the way. So we put the saucepan to the side now, that's boiled, and we're going to start with the preparation of the vermicelli. So with this, what you need to do is you need to break them into smaller pieces, but not so small. So you can see with this example over here, I'm going to break this into approximately 5 equal length pieces. So you're going to just grab it from there like that, and you're just going to break that down like that. So you break that down and do that right across, right through for the whole lot. One more time. Go. And we'll do that again with the next one. I'll do it inside the packet because if it is shooting up all over the show, we don't want it making a mess of your workshop, so I'll do that from inside the packet in the next bit. So I'm the first one to show you. Nearly there. Last one. There, well, that's ready now, that's prepped. Now I'm going to crack on with getting the butter melted down in the pan. So that's all ready, that's out of the way. And at this point over here, we'll crack on with the pan. And now, a tiny bit of thing I need to tell you over here that's quite important is make sure that when you do put heat underneath the pan, keep it at a low heat. We're used to using it at a medium heat, but we're used to turning the vermicelli quite quickly in the pan. They have a tendency to burn quite quickly, so I would advise you to keep it on a low heat to prevent that actually happening, and try to keep it on low heat throughout the whole cooking process as well. So we'll do that now. I'll get that onto there you go, medium to low heat. That's nice and low now, and I'm going to drop in there the butter, 150 grams. I'll pop that into there. We need to let that melt first. We'll allow that to give it a bit of time to melt. Now it's started to melt already. We just want it to melt and start bubbling a bit. Okay, we're nearly there now. Just got a tiny bit more to go. It would normally melt a lot quicker. We do have it on a medium heat, but like I've suggested, we will keep it on a medium to low heat to prevent any burning process when we make these. You have to be quite active when making the Seviyan. The thing is, with this, it seems like a simple dish. There's not a lot of ingredients, but there's always a slight a certain technicality that you have to making these dishes. With this one in particular, it's the turning of the vermicelli from the bottom to the top continually to prevent it burning, because it can burn very, very quickly. Okay, we're nearly there. Right, a few more seconds and we'll add the vermicelli into that pan and we'll begin turning it very, very quickly. Okay, we'll add that in now. There we go. I'll start turning that as quick as I can really. just keep stirring it gently, and when you stir it, just turn them over like that. And any areas where you can see that the vermicelli is sticking together, just separate them out gently with the spoon. So just a little mix, turn it over, and gently separate out any areas that are sticking together. You can see here, there's some sticking together there. So what you would do is just separate them out gently with a spoon. Keep stirring and keep turning this over. It will gradually start to soften. And that's what we're looking for. When it does start to get slightly brown, we will be adding in the water and the mixture from the other saucepan that we originally were boiling and we'd left to the side. So it's been about 4 or 5 minutes now that we've been doing this, and keep doing that. You can see the free butter at the bottom of the pan. Keep turning it on itself. Make sure that the vermicelli at the bottom doesn't stay down too long to prevent it burning. And that is the importance of having that low heat to prevent that burning happening. It just makes this a lot easier for you until you get more confident in making this dish. You can start putting the heat underneath, obviously higher. I was reading an interesting Twitter feed a few days ago in regards to traditions at Christmas, and it was a Muslim man who was observing how Christmas traditions are, because he's not been able to get home this year due to the pandemic, so he's actually joining in with part of the Christmas celebrations at his friend's house where they stay. And I think he's learned quite a lot, because it was actually an interesting Twitter feed to read, but he was talking about one of the things being the traditions that each family has of its own in terms of what they would eat on Christmas morning and stuff like that. I've heard quite a lot about traditions anyway. I know I once worked with a Polish friend of mine who said they have their Christmas dinner the day before Christmas, to have it on Christmas Eve, so that's something I didn't know. But just going back to the original story, we were talking about these Christmas traditions, and this one for me, these Seviyan that we're making, is definitely something that my mum made every Eid morning when I was younger. I think nowadays there's a range in our family in terms of who wants to eat what. It's really it has moved away from that, but I still always request that we have these thin noodles, sweet noodles, because it always reminds me of my childhood. So for me, it definitely is a tradition I have. I remember my childhood growing up and having these all the time. Okay, at this point over here you can see that all of the vermicelli have actually browned really nicely. There's no lighter areas, so it'll be time to add in the water from our other saucepan. Now the water will get absorbed very, very quickly into this mixture, so we'll stir it for a bit. I'll keep an eye on it and give it a bit of a mix. So let's just add that in there now. Whatever you do, don't put your head above that pan, because that steam just shot up there. And the last thing I want to do is for you to scald yourself. Give it a nice mix now. I'll mix into the water, give it a mix. Keep mixing it. It'll absorb the water in very, very quickly. You've got areas of the vermicelli that's actually sticking together, so gently separate them, but just keep mixing the water in. It's absorbing that water very, very quickly. When you see that the water levels have gone quite far down and most of the water has been absorbed in by the vermicelli, you need to drop the heat onto quite a low heat, and then pop a lid on this pan and leave it for no longer than a few minutes really. Keep an eye on it, because most of the liquid will get absorbed in really, really quickly. As you can see, most of the water has now disappeared. So at this point I'm going to drop this to a low heat, pop the lid onto it, and I'm going to leave that for 2 minutes, and that's it, and then turn the gas off, take it off heat completely. Okay, now this has been on there for 2 minutes. I'm just going to turn off the heat, take that off heat completely, And that's now ready. I'm just going to leave that there. That is now done. So I'm really tempted to eat this myself, but you know I'm not going to get away with that. So time to get the seal of approval from my parents. There was none left for me anyway, so seal of approval met. So thank you for joining us again. If you want to follow any more of my recipes, please like and subscribe to my channel on YouTube, and have a lovely new year. Thank you. See you soon.